Hello there, everybody, and today I am finally here to review the finale to Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 3. I did think about doing all three parts in one video, but I decided to just talk about them separately. I probably established this in the first one, but let's talk about this movie. So this is basically kind of like the series finale to DC animation, because after this, I don't even think we're really going to get many DC animations. I mean, we did get Creature Commandos. So far, we got Batman Ninja 2, which is separate from these movies. But this movie was really good. And a lot of people, like I said last video, a lot of people don't really like the Crisis movies for some reason. But I really enjoyed Part 3. It is a much better movie, in my opinion, than Part 2. Part 2 just felt really slow. It was just more explaining stuff that they were trying to open the door towards. But I felt like they could have done more with the Tomorrowverse, since this is the finale to the Tomorrowverse of DC animated movies, and we get a bunch of plot twists for this movie. I'm going to go full spoilers in this review because there's a lot to be said for this movie. So where do I start? So it's basically there's no jumping between flashbacks. This is just straightforward. But apparently Superman, Lois, and I think Earth 2 Superman are looking for, the Earth 2 Wonder Woman, as you know, who got hit by antimatter during Part 2, but they managed to find her because they had her tiara. But apparently they've been looking for months to find Wonder Woman, but they found her and taken her back to where all the survivors are from the various Earths. But apparently it's interrupted by another time glitch. Apparently there's a bunch of armies of dinosaurs. So the two Superman, Lois, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, Black Canary all team up to take down the dinosaurs, and it goes pretty well when they take them down. They even encounter a T-Rex. We even get a cameo from the Losers, that superhero team. It was pretty wild. But apparently during all this, we also get a scene with Lex Luthor. This is not the Earth 1 version in this universe. This is the Earth 10 version. I was actually thinking it was the Earth 1 version, but no, this is Earth 10. And he's voiced by Corey Seidel. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong. He played Yellow Jacket in the Ant-Man movies. Honestly, he is a perfect choice to play Lex Luthor in live action. But I'm curious what Nicholas Holt's going to do as Lex Luthor. But Corey Seidel was pretty good as a voice actor for Lex Luthor. He even got a bald head in real life. But apparently he has formed the Legion of Doom. We got Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, a bunch of others. And apparently they held hostage Psycho Pirate, who's apparently the reason why this crisis is still going on. But apparently Lex got a trick up his sleeve, as it's revealed later. But during this, we see what Batman is up to, played by the awesome Jensen Ackles, who teams up with the Bat Family. And it's nice to see that he's finally working with the Bat Family on the Earth 2 version. But apparently they see a bunch of villains, Batman's Rogues Gallery, and a few random dudes from the World War II, I'm pretty sure. But we apparently also see Bane in this universe for a few seconds, but Batman's able to take them down with the Bat Family, but unfortunately he is sprayed by fear toxins, and it causes him to see a vision. But not just Scarecrow, but he sees the return of Barry Allen, who is an old man, all the way in Justice League War World, who apparently tells Bruce that to go back to the beginning, and he is erased from time, as you saw in part 1, where Barry dies from his Speed Force energy being drained away. But Batman is encountering this fear toxin, and he passes out. But Robin's able to teleport Batman back to the Watchtower, I'm pretty sure. But he doesn't wake up for a little while. But various other things are happening. The crisis is still going down. The Anti-Monitor is apparently destroying the Earth still. But apparently it all leads to all the characters teaming up to find a way to take down the Anti-Monitor. But they got to figure out what is going on. What caused this crisis? This is where Batman wakes up from his nightmare, and he figures out what could be going on. So he goes to Dr. Fate to find answers, and he believes the Flash is the answer. But the Justice League is convinced that Flash is dead. They don't even know where Iris is, but they are able to find a way to find their answers when John reveals that he met John Constantine, as you saw in part 2. So, but they have no clue where John is, since it's believed he can be on any Earth, since he said he was basically God. So, Batman, John, Wonder Woman, and Dr. Fate all find a way to find John Constantine, who's apparently hanging out on some other Earth, where it's just he's in the Wild West. But during this, Superman, Lois, Lex Luthor are trying to find out plans to take down the Anti-Monitor. But it's actually revealed that Lex Luthor is behind the death of Earth 2. Because earlier, Aquaman showed up in this crisis, but apparently his Earth was about to get destroyed. So he went back to go be with his wife. It was actually a wild sacrifice. It makes sense since Aquaman did love his family, and he dies with them. They even try to convince him not to go, but he goes anyway. But apparently, Earth 2 also gets destroyed when they're trying to save the people. Old Black Canary and Jay Garrick try to save everybody, but the Anti-Monitor unfortunately takes out the Earth, and Black Canary says to the new one that she loves her and is proud. And unfortunately, Earth 2 is gone. But it's actually revealed that Lex Luthor is behind it, as Lois is suspecting that he's behind this. But it turns out Lex Luthor has been contacting the Anti-Monitor and is basically doing it just so he can find his weakness. And even Superman says it. He's like, oh, you're trying to figure out his kryptonite. And he basically answers that. But during all this is where we get the big plot twist. Batman is able to go to John Constantine for answers, and it all leads to the characters holding hands so they can go into the mind of John Constantine. And this is where it becomes the big plot twist. Batman and John Constantine are able to go into his memories. And this is what I've been thinking the Tomorrowverse is this entire time. My theory was correct. This is a new universe the Flash created after he went to create another Flashpoint. From the previous universe, the New 52 movies. We even see the Titans Tower. We see the New 52 versions of the characters broken from the Dark Apocalypse War. And this is that universe. John sent the Flash to go back in time after the events of that movie, after Darkseid destroyed the universe. But he sent Barry for a reason. And even Batman calls out John for changing the past. But it turns out, before Barry went in time to go fix everything, John put a spell on Flash. But for some reason, in this version of the Flash, he's apparently looks like his Tomorrowverse counterpart instead of how he looks in the Dark Apocalypse War, where he's super skinny from running on the treadmill. That's my random nitpick. But Barry goes back in time, and it turns out he actually was supposed to kill baby Darkseid, but because of John's spell, it ended up killing Darkseid anyway. So John Constantine is the reason why this universe was created. The Tomorrowverse was created, and its multiverse, and why it's getting taken over. He's basically the pariah of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. In the story, it's a different pariah. Even in the CW version, it's Nash Wells. But in this, it's John Constantine, which is the biggest plot twist of this movie. So this is basically a multiverse, but without Darkseid. But the characters do go back to the Earth. I think they go back to the Watchtower at first, but during all this, basically they gotta come up with a plan to take out the Anti-Monitor as he's destroying more Earths. But Lex comes up with a plan. He's going to have Superman go into solar radiation around the sun and basically become so powerful that he can take out the Anti-Monitor. But Lois thinks Lex is just doing this just so he can find a way to kill Superman. Because he's obsessed with trying to kill Superman. But Superman corrects Lois by saying it's actually a good plan. As Superman, we get this good line from Superman. He basically says, "One life to save billions. I call that a bargain." That's a good line. But Superman's going to use the sun as his radiation, but instead, Kara interferes, believing she is responsible for what all this has gone down, and she uses the solar radiation to power herself to become basically kind of like supersonic, and the Anti-Monitor ends up controlling Lex at first, but it's actually revealed another plot twist. As you know, in Justice League Warworld, we fought Warworld and Martian Manhunter was killed because Warworld got destroyed. But it turns out Martian Manhunter has been alive this whole time with the help of Adam Strange, and apparently they were just teleported by a Zeta beam. Just like in Green Lantern, Beware My Power. But apparently they only got one shot at taking out the Anti-Monitor, and John was able to use the Zeta beam to take out the Anti-Monitor and cause a giant hole in him. And also John Stewart ends up returning to be a Green Lantern, as he's given a new ring by a new tribe of Green Lanterns. And we even see Razor and I think Aiko the robot. I'm sorry if I got her name wrong, from the Green Lantern animated series. I don't know if it's that exact version. But John gets a new ring, and he's able to use the Green Lantern ring's power to also take out the Anti-Monitor. And with another hit of the cannon, Kara is able to say goodbye to Superman, and she is able to go into the Anti-Monitor's wound and basically explode him. But because of this gigantic power, Kara basically sacrifices herself, and she unfortunately dies. Just like in the comic book. I don't know how she dies in the comic. I've only read one issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'd like to read the story one day. But Superman ends up carrying Kara in her arms, and he screams just like in the comic. It was actually sad to see Kara go. She believes she caused all this, but she was always blaming herself, but she dies a hero. And Meg Donnelly was really great as Supergirl in this final performance of playing Supergirl in this universe. But John Constantine's able to tell Superman that they don't have time to grieve, as something worse has come. As Batman has solved the greatest mystery of the multiverse. Basically, the multiverse is a cancer, And because the superheroes are trying to stop the Anti-Monitor, it's basically making the multiverse worse and causing it to die. But John reveals that he's the reason why this all happened in the first place, and he's able to reveal that Darkseid is the reason why the multiverse is falling apart, because he doesn't exist. But apparently this is the part where we get a bunch of cameos in this movie. We get cameos from the Super Friends universe, but the major one we see before it gets destroyed by antimatter, we see Kevin Conroy's last performance as Batman. He's basically watching the night in the sky, and we see Gotham City, and then the Joker shows up, and for some reason it says Mark Hamill, but it doesn't sound like him. I don't know who the voice this is, or if it is Mark Hamill, or if it's just like an AI version of the Joker. I don't know. But nitpicks aside, Batman has this final showdown with the Joker, and Joker's like, "I must say, Batsy, I didn't know you cared." But Batman says, "I care, Joker, about Gotham, about justice. And if it has to end like this, at least I go out like this, being Batman." And the two are struck by antimatter. And the Justice League are also trying to stop the crisis in the Watchtower, and Aquaman's there for some reason, and Green Lantern and Hawkgirl have a final kiss. But for some reason, John has his season 1 and 2 hair instead of how he looks in Justice League Unlimited, and Hawkgirl's wearing her outfit in Justice League Unlimited. So there's some continuity errors. The Watchtower database basically explained, because this is a Darkseid list version of the multiverse, they don't believe this is the exact version of the DCAU. So is the DCAU gone? I don't think so. I think this is just a variation of the DCAU. Heck, the DCAU even has its own multiverse, with other versions of like an evil Superman. They even have the Earth 12 comics, which have continuity errors. We even see the Justice Lords. My bad. But I think this is just a variation, since this is established as a different multiverse, a new multiverse created by John Constantine. But it's a nice farewell to Kevin Conroy, since unfortunately he passed away, as I've said many times in my reviews of Batman the Animated Series. I don't view this as the true finale to the DCAU. The true finale was probably Epilogue, and I won't spoil that, but that's a different story. But back to the crisis. Basically, the Earths are about to get destroyed by multiple anti-monitors, as the Justice League believes they can't stop him because there's just too much. It took all their strength just to take out one. But Batgirl randomly gives the idea that Kara basically had a boom tube that could basically create anything, and they hid it in some pocket dimension. But with the help of John and I think one of the other characters, I forget her name, but they're able to find this device. But apparently the only way they can power this is through some unknown power. But Green Lantern tries to use his ring to power the machine, but it doesn't work. So Wonder Woman decides to make the sacrifice to open a new wormhole to another universe. That is the only way they can escape this crisis. Not die from the antimatter wave, but go to a new universe and start fresh. And that's basically what happens. A new wormhole opens and the Spectre shows up and he makes his peace, and he basically tells them they can live in a new world or live exactly like they did. But the characters make their final goodbyes. Superman kisses Lois, and the two basically go in there. In Earth 2, Superman goes in there, but this also leads to all the other characters going into the portal. Batman has his final moments with the Huntress, basically saying he's worried that he won't form the Bat family, because it took till this movie for for Batman to finally let people in. That's his little arc. He finally learns to have the Bat family, since, he likes being a loner, since this is an early stage Batman. But, Huntress encourages him that he will have the Bat family in this new universe. And the two make their amends, and they go into the portal. Martian Manhunter says it was an honor, Batman. Lex Luthor says, "You're welcome." Mr. Terrific tells them they have to hurry. Batman finally makes a step into the portal as it slowly closes into the unknown, as the Spectre and John Constantine fade away into the unknown, as the antimatter wave finally erases Warworld and Psycho Pirate. But as this new universe is created, I honestly think it could be the DCU, since DC is basically getting rebooted after the DCEU didn't do so well. And basically, this movie kind of sets up the DCU if you really think about it, since the future projects for DC are now just the DCU. And I really hope DC does a great job with the start of Superman that comes out this July, I'm pretty sure. But that's Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. It wasn't the best DC animated movie in my opinion, but I thought it was a nice love letter to it. Basically a nice finale to everything that's been building all the way back from Flashpoint Paradox all the way to this movie. And yeah, people can probably say the animation looks cheap, but because they had limited budget, they had to do their best. And I wish the Tomorrowverse had more time to grow and basically have more time to develop the characters, but because they were rushed, they had to do their best. But hey, they had their finale. I thought it was fantastic. I'd probably give this movie probably an 8 out of 10. It's weird that this is my top movie of 2025, since there's so many other movies out there that are probably viewed as greater than these movies. But I really do care about DC animation, and I hope this isn't the last DC animated movie universe. I hope someday we'll get a new universe, since I truly do love these movies. And is this the last DC animated movie review? Of course not. I want to review a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to do my best to find new ones that come out. I'll definitely review it in the future of this channel. But the next review is Sonic 3, and then we'll get to my number one movie, and then yeah, we'll leave it at that. So I've talked a lot here, so anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.